there's a word to be mentioned about the battles, because in these lessons we've been through many battles. The battle of Badr, the battle of Uhud, the battle of Hunain, and many other smaller battles that were taking place. And so it's important here to make a word regarding battles in general and war in general in Islam, and how Islam came and what it did to the institution of war. Now, before Islam, in the days of Jahiliyyah, if you looked at the people of Jahiliyyah and the tribes of the Arabs, and you looked at basically just the concept of fighting, or what was taking place in terms of fighting, we saw that it was basically just utter chaos. There was killing, there were assassinations, there were razing of whole villages down to the ground, destruction, revenge, seeking vengeance, fiery vengeance. There was violating the people's honors, just basically creating corruption upon the earth, destroying homes, destroying crops, destroying people's lineages, whole genealogies, without the offspring, without any mercy, without any compassion. This is how it used to be. Utter, complete chaos and madness. Why? Because these people were driven by honor, pride, things of that nature, and they would simply the whole concept of war was nothing to do with establishing justice, was nothing to do with removing oppression, was nothing to do to protect the weak, the women, the children, nothing to do with protecting the rights of the people. It was all just utter complete chaos. Whoever was strong would devour the weak, and it was all to do with honor and position and so on and so forth. And so Islam, when Islam came, it completely altered this concept of fighting that was present amongst or in the days of Jahiliyyah. It completely altered and changed this concept of fighting. And so it made war as a means of aiding the oppressed people, and as a means of subduing and putting back the oppression of the Zalimeen, the oppressors. It became a mean of spreading security and safety in the society, so people can get on with their lives and live in peace and security and safety. And it became a means to establish al-adl, justice, and likewise to save the weak, the women, the children, the weak, the downtrodden, from the tyranny, from the opportunity taken by the strong people to manipulate them, and likewise to remove the people, the servants of Allah, from worshipping Allah's slaves to worshipping the Lord of the slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal, and from the oppression and tyranny of the religions to the justice of Islam. Now, from the traits, as we said, from the traits of the Arabs, was that they were not willing to humble themselves in front of anybody. And it didn't matter how long the battle would last. It could last hundreds of years. Because of pride and arrogance, they would not let things go. And that's why you see that when you look in the days of Jahiliyyah, and the tribes that would be fighting, for example, the battles between Bikr and Taghlab, two tribes, lasted 40 years. 40 years. And there were 70,000 people killed in those 40 years in this continuous war between these two tribes. Likewise, and none of the two tribes was willing to submit to the other one. And likewise, the Al-Aws and Al-Khazraj, the two main tribes that were present in Medina, what became known as Medina in Yathrib. Their battles had been going on for 100 years, for the 100-year battle, and they refused to submit to the other tribe. And as you can imagine, there were thousands and thousands that were killed in the process. So the basic mentality was that war would have to continue and continue and continue, and no one was going to have the humility or the common sense or the decency to think about, things rationally and to just submit and live in peace. Right? This was the fiery nature of these people. And so when Islam came, and this is the amazing thing as well, that you have to imagine that when Islam came, it came in the midst of this type of mentality. This type of mentality. So how would the messenger and the believers with him be in a position to fight and overcome and to subdue this type of mentality, which in the days of Jahiliyyah, the wars would rage for decades and decades and decades, for 100 years non-stop. How did Islam come and completely alter this mentality and this concept of war? And this is when a person thinks about this, then this is also what indicates that what Islam came with was something that basically struck and changed the hearts. It did not come with violence, did not come with destruction and mass slaughter as is claimed by the haters from the Islamophobes and other than them, the lies that they spread. Rather, Islam came and used such ways of wisdom and justice and ethics that it basically opened the hearts of these people before it conquered their lands. The hearts were already conquered before their lands needed conquering. And when a person looks at the consequences of the wars that used to take place in the days of Jahiliyyah, one will see that which is amazing. In all of the battles of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ that took place between himself and the mushrikeen, the pagans, and the Yahud, and the Nasara, the Christians, numbered no more than 1,000 people. 1,000 people killed in 8 years of conflict. 8 years of conflict. 1,000 people. That is one person every 3 days. One person every 3 days. That was the cost, and it was not initiated by the Messenger of Allah. Rather, he, as Ibn al-Qayyim says, he never ever initiated violence upon anybody until it was initiated upon him first. He never ever compelled a single person to accept Islam. Rather, the people willingly entered into Islam. When some of the Jews and Christians tried to force their children to become Muslims, the verse was revealed in Surah Al-Baqarah, La ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in the religion. So Ibn al-Qayyim mentions this, that the people were not forced into Islam, rather they willingly came and they entered into Islam. Because the Messenger never ever initiated violence. And he said that had they left him alone, then he would not, he would have let them be. And this statement is from Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullahu ta'ala. So, in 8 years, and in all the battles that took place, the battle of Badr, the battle of Uhud, the battle of Hunayn, and all the other battles that were taking place, how many casualties? 1,000. 1,000. Hardly 100, almost just over 100 in a year. Compare this to what would take place, before, in the days of Jahiliyyah, and of the mass killing, the murder, the slaughter, the continuation of war for decades and decades and decades, just the mentality that was present. And you see something that is absolutely amazing. They would slaughter thousands upon thousands upon thousands. How could a person even imagine that such people with this mentality would be turned into what they became when Islam came after that? And there would only be 1,000 casualties, 1,000 at the most, 1,000 that were dead. And so this is from the great and amazing affairs which indicate what? It shows clearly that when you put things into perspective, that it shows clearly that prophethood when it came, and Islam when it came, that this was a prophethood of mercy. He was a prophet of mercy, of a lofty message, of wisdom, of a lofty call, of something that is miraculous, something that is a bounty and a favor from Allah Azza wa Jal. All of these things a person clearly recognizes and sees these things within Islam.